Welcome back to the Federal Executive Forum on Federal News Network. We are talking about IT, modernization, digital transformation, etc. We're going to get into priorities. Guy, I'm going to start with you. Your number one priority for this year in regards to IT transformation.
Sure. Our number one priority is to move to the cloud. I have technology modernization funds for Zero Trust and for redoing gov and our other initiatives, but the core theme out of all of them, Luke, is that we're no longer building on premise and everything's going to the cloud.
Full march to cloud, full stop. I love it. Michael, top priority from Verizon for this year.
Well, look, I'm gonna cheat a little bit, and let me just say we think there's four priorities that we see: cybersecurity, network backbone, the workforce, and the people. If I could sneak in two, I'd say when we think about the workforce, large amounts of folks are still working remotely, and they want the best experience. And so we're leveraging our 5G network, JD Power, #1 rated, to deliver fixed wireless access for those types of solutions. So we're excited about that, especially with our C-band deployment. And then lastly, it's about the people. So we're seeing a lot of interest in virtual contact center, right? The government's primary customer are the people. And so we think that virtual contact center delivers a solution that improves the customer experience, and that gets into everything we do: network as a service, fixed wireless access, secure cloud fabric, and more to make that happen. So we see those as pretty big priorities.
Appreciate that. Vaughn, top priority for EPA.
Yeah, I touched on it earlier, and we talked about the national digitization centers. Actually placing those digitization centers in production. We've got 2 of those. They'll go in production this year, and we'll start transferring paper files and start digitizing those files and making them available to the EPA employees so they can use that. And certainly, in addition to that priority is our continuing priority on focusing on the employees. And this is how we modernize, how we actually communicate to our employees, how we engage them. One of the things that we saw with the pandemic was it was no longer us trying to push features onto employees. It was them really getting the mode of accepting change, right? And so we want to continue with how we condition our employees to welcome change and how we evolve applications in that space to make them more productive.
All about being adaptive. Parth, number one priority.
Sure. Yeah, Luke. So what we are seeing in all of the agencies we are dealing with is really data estate modernization. And there's sub-bullets under that. Let me cover a couple there. As Guy was mentioning, we are seeing a push to the cloud, and not just sort of moving the systems that are on-prem into the cloud, but being truly cloud native, using what's there and the agility of the cloud to reduce cost while still driving mission outcomes. There's a focus on open source. There is a definite interest in the government to avoid any kind of vendor lock-in. So to be able to own your own data, to be able to own the code that you write to get insights out of that data is definitely part of it. There is building for roadmap, right? It is not enough to just do what you were doing today. You need to be able to ingest not just the structured data, but the unstructured data, the images, the documents, be able to ingest streaming data and apply artificial intelligence and machine learning against it. You want to be able to really empower the users in your agency, and you want to do it with self-service, but it is not enough to just provide self-service. How do you do it with governance, and how do you balance that? So these are some of the aspects of the data modernization that we are seeing come to the fore. And the Databricks Lakehouse is delivering on a lot of these requirements, as I had given an example earlier.
Sure, you really need those guardrails to enable that citizen service, citizen development. Patrick, top priority on this massive journey that you all are on.
Our customers expect faster service. Our employees need to support our customers, speed up their service. So our priority is to improve how our systems communicate and integrate. We want to eliminate silos in our technologies, use to support our core functions. And we want to build end-to-end processing systems, modernize those in the cloud base, leveraging the strength of the cloud, and mature our cloud framework within the agency. Those are our priorities.
Fantastic. Sounds massive, and I know you're up for it. Jonathan, top priority BMC.
Yeah, you bet. Very simply, three things: cloud, data, and agility. For cloud, look, if it wasn't hard enough to run applications between on-premise and one particular cloud type, now you've got to consider the orchestration of applications going across all three infrastructure models. For us, the question is, how are you going to do it and not create more silos of automation or orchestration? So how can we help with that? Second, on data. Look, many of the modern data initiatives haven't reached their full potential. The biggest hurdle, the ability to operationalize data initiatives because of the high degree of complexity involved. So we're focused on how do we better simplify very complex data pipelines across those operational models to enable true scale and production. Last, agility. What we hear from customers is they want to go fast. But they also want to change direction pretty quickly. So for us, how do we make collaboration, which we think is a pretty strong component of that, across the teams, frictionless all the way from the design of the application to production? So those are our big three priorities.
Top three priorities. I do appreciate that. We're going to wrap it up here and paint a picture of the future, so to speak. Let's say 3 years out. Parth, we're going to start with you. What's the demand signal that you all are getting? Sort of where do you think you're going to be as far as the types of things that you'll be delivering 3 years from now?
Sure. I think step one is about getting the data curated and ready for driving insights. And again, as I stated earlier, it's not just about the data that currently exists in the siloed databases that are on-prem, but moving into the cloud and organizing it in such a way that you can integrate it with not just structured data, but unstructured, semi-structured text, et cetera. There's going to be a push for every agency to have an always up-to-date data warehouse, if you will, a technology by which their insights are always fresh. Now, it's not enough to also be ready for business intelligence. The next step is machine learning and AI. And so the Lakehouse with Databricks actually enables the customer who is using the tooling to be ready for that roadmap event once they have the data organized. And the third thing, and I think an important one, we envision that the agencies are going to start to now look at sharing data once they have their data estates modernized in the cloud. And that's going to be critical to develop citizen outcomes. Just as a quick example, with CBP, Border Patrol, ICE and USCIS, there is a sharing mechanism in place with Databricks where they're sharing data and building this sort of customer 360 to improve the outcomes for the folks who are going through immigration, who are entering our borders from different countries. So this is really going to drive the innovation in the government in the next 2 to 3 years.
No question, and a lot of data being shared, but in a maybe not as advanced way that they could be doing it. I think Patrick pointed that out. Jonathan, 3 years from now, what does it look like as far as BMC is concerned?
Yeah, sure. So we believe that organizations that are succeeding in IT modernization are going to basically have 5 or 6 different attributes. And the cool thing is that you've heard all of them from this panel of great shops today, right? So the first one you heard from Patrick. Delivering a transcendent customer experience, being thoughtful about that customer experience from the beginning to the end. That's the first. The second, we believe organizations are going to be driving automation everywhere, specifically to free up sources of innovation, which we believe are, in fact, our people. Third, organizations will be embracing enterprise DevOps, but they'll be doing it, though, to unlock industrialized agility. It is a combination of the two things. Number 4, organizations are going to be maniacally focused on creating actionable insights with the mountains of data that we have at our fingertips. And then last but not least, organizations are going to be keeping organizations secure by focusing on really strong adaptive cybersecurity. This is our framework. We call it the Autonomous Digital Enterprise. It's the thing at BMC that is our North Star. It guides our product strategy. It guides the way that we service and focus on our customers and our partners. So that is what we look at as we look ahead for the next 2 to 5 years.
Really do appreciate that. Michael, you talked about 5G. I assume in 3 years, 5G will be fully realized. Are we talking 6G? Where does it end?
The G's will always progress and go beyond our wildest dreams. But, we see that, full use of 5G is potentially what's particularly out there, and that's exciting, right? We've done our C-band rollout. You're enabling private networks. You got on-site private networks, wireless networks that give you the security that you're looking for. We got our network as a service solutions, making sure things are faster, more secure, cloud-based. And we think of this aspect of partnerships, right? I heard a lot about it today. I heard a lot about it in other government forums, delivering faster data, lower latency. Imagine federal agencies that gather data from states being able to do so in, a nanosecond, right? Much faster time speed. And then I think about all of this creating better constituent services, right? Self-service enablement across the IRS, the postal, the DMV, wherever you go, your experience as a citizen of this country being much more accelerated, much more efficient, much better. Looking forward.
We really do appreciate that. And we're all looking forward to that. Guy, well, I know your track record, and I would say 3 years from now, certainly you're going to be fully in the cloud, native apps being built, et cetera, et cetera. If I'm a freshly minted retiree or a new employee coming into OPM and I look around, what's it going to look like 3 years from now? What's that experience going to be?
Yes, thank you for that support, Luke. I hope I can do it all in 3 years. There's a lot to modernize. One of the things I'm excited about, we've heard it from the panel, one of the things we're revamping is the opm.gov website. When we ask our citizens to understand our org structure, to be able to know where to look for an answer versus being a user-centric experience. So in 3 years, we will see the OPM website change from being that very difficult to find anything website to having specific customer journeys, both for citizens, for people that are applying for jobs, for federal employees that are wanting to find what their benefits are, and then interchanging with other agencies. The other thing I'm very excited about, Luke, is the need for us to leverage cloud cybersecurity native capabilities to repel the artificial intelligence and machine learning attacks that our enemies will be using against government. We cannot match that level of power with humans behind screens. So the impact on cyber over the next 3 years of moving really to massive amounts of data, logging, analytics that would be too expensive to do on premise, and we already have executive orders telling us to do this. I think that's going to be an impact on the cyber end. Our citizens expect us to protect their data, and if we don't get ahead of the hackers and use the maximum tools to protect our data, we'll always be on the losing end.
Absolutely, and we have 100% confidence in you. Patrick, once again, I want to commend you. Going hand to hand with each state and getting them connected is a daunting task, and I'm sure you would have loved to have just sort of plugged and played that, but you got it done. 3 years from now, you're going to have a lot more of these train tracks laid down. What are you expecting to see 3 years from now?
Well, I'm expecting to see 3 years from now that members of the public, you and I, will be able to address most of our needs online on a mobile device, not having to come to an office or visit a field office or a hearing office, not needing to send documents, mail documents into an office. 3 years from now, I see if you want to transact business with us online, you'll be able to do the main programs. And if you want to come in office, you'll have better service, equitable services, no matter what channel you choose. 3 years from now, I also see our employees to be able to quickly connect and collaborate with their colleagues to deliver their mission. We've deployed some capabilities. The Microsoft team is our primary collaboration. But on the processing systems that we use to service our customer, I see the ability for our employees to, in 3 years now, to be more integrated as we integrate our systems and have a 360 view of our customers so that we're better able to process and claims and support them, all while operating in the cloud and having the scalability to change directions should business direction requires. So I see us more adaptable, flexible, leveraging the technologies that are out there today, and applying the processes to support that.
I really do appreciate it, and we look forward to that. Vaughn.
Yeah, so mine's really easy. In 3 years, I'd like to see all paper-based activities eliminated from the EPA. We are the EPA, which means how we acquire, how we store, how we transform, how we present, and ultimately how we make informed recommendations or decisions is on data that's in a digital format, right? I would love to see the day where we no longer have to do data calls to find out where data is or what information exists within the agency. It's available instantaneous for folks to use.
And no doubt that as you get all that paper, we'll call it, forms into this digital environment, you're also modernizing these environments. So you start digital, you stay digital. So would you expect 3 years from now that you'll be there?
Well, they're wildly important goals, right? And so part of what we've done now is set the framework for it.
Yep.
And we're working with the teams to see where we can work with the stakeholders within the agency, identifying those information collection requests that exist within a paper-based form and start converting those. For all new data that's coming to the agency, you need to start out digitally, right? So it's two-step. It's identifying what's currently out there that's not a digital, that's not digitally acquired.
Mm-hmm.
Convert that, and then make sure that for all future data collections that we acquire and store them in a digital native format.
We have 100% confidence in you doing that. We really do appreciate everything that you're doing there. An extremely important agency. I'd like to thank all of you for taking the time out of your busy schedules to join us for this program. I'd like to thank the sponsors for supporting us on this show. I'd also like to thank the good people here at Federal News Network that make our program so successful and enjoyable. And most of all, I'd like to thank you, the listening audience, that tune in every month. You've been listening to the Federal Executive Forum, part of the Federal News Network.